Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Webfree conference. My name is Luke Reed. I'm the CEO of TechCircus. We run these events, and I'm joined today with Steve McKeon, who is also CEO. And we're going to talk a little bit about his job and how he got there shortly. If you are in the chat, please just say hi. It'd be nice to see how many people are in the room. There we go. Hi, Martin. How you doing? Alexis, how you doing? Braxton, nice to meet you. Anybody else in the room? Stephen, Adam, that's it. Good. Mark. Right, we are full of people. Good stuff. Now, I hope you're all ready to ask lots of questions, because this is an Ask Me Anything question session. I'm going to start off with some questions for the first 10 or 15 minutes. We'll get to know Stephen, and then afterwards, it will be over to you. So any questions that you have, put them in the Q&A section, and we'll get running from there. Okay, so let's start off. First off, Stephen, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. Really well over here, actually.
And where in the world are you joining us from today?
I am in the Philadelphia area in the USA.
Very nice. And I always ask this because I'm British, but how is the weather there today?
Extremely cold and bitter. You don't want to be here. You guys probably have better weather over there.
We've had grey clouds non-stop and rain for the last 2 weeks here in London, and it's been a bit depressing. I cannot wait for the spring to start.
Well, at least it's not snow. It's a different story. But yeah, I've been to London. That's a great town. Sometimes it does get cloudy.
Fantastic.
A lot.
Let's get to know you a little bit more, other than the weather in Philadelphia at the moment.
Sure.
What is your background, and what have you been doing in the past as a job, and essentially where are you now?
Sure, I'll rewind it all back as a toddler. So honestly, as a toddler, I was told by my mom that I took apart my crib and it fell apart on me. And honestly, since then, I've been taking things apart my whole life. Then when I went out into the real world, I started working for companies doing R&D and prototyping, and really built things that didn't exist before. So I generally like that type of stuff, going into the unknown, doing stuff that others haven't done. And I built a career out of it. And I'm still doing some development, but now I'm running a company for about 10 years. And I'm really enjoying it. It's kind of a different shift from being an engineer to being a CEO.
Well, I've got an important question. You said pulling things to pieces. What does that mean?
I just like to take things apart. I mean, like to say, like when I started with my computer as a kid, I had a Commodore 64. It wasn't good enough for me just to program it. I took everything apart, every screw, nut, and bolt, a net machine. And I put it back together. It didn't work at first, but as a kid, I learned how things worked, and by taking them apart, and I took apart almost everything I had. And over time, that just really gave me a lot of intuition of how things are made and how they work. So I kind of enjoy that.
Yeah, it's interesting how people in their younger years start with these things, and then they end up going on to do great things from pulling apart things as a kid, and then ending up doing something quite significant within the industry. So, okay, so you started off with that, and then what sort of jobs did you have leading into what you do now?
Did a lot of R&D and prototyping. I was building stuff for the government for a while. I built a web-based system called Magnet, which is an acronym for Municipal Automation and Geographic Network. And this was pre-Google Maps, and we were doing Google Maps types of stuff then. What we were really doing is building systems or web-based systems that can manage a town, municipality, or a state. Every aspect from permitting to zoning, all encompassed in a very rich GUI interface that was map-centric, which didn't, at that time, it was really cutting edge. So I enjoyed those types of things.
Amazing. And then what do you do now?
I work every day. I'm trying to run a team here. So we're changing a traditional software development company into more of a blockchain project company, and really enjoying that. I really like the projects coming in this space. And we're just trying to be a facilitator of this as well. So it's been a great time getting some new talent in here that really enjoys this new ever-changing environment called blockchain.
So did you start off in Web 2 and then move into Web 3?
I did, yeah. So I was in Web 2. I've been in IT and software for roughly about 25 years. I've been in the blockchain space for roughly about 6 years. As started initially mining. I set up these miners, and now I've built a pretty good social media presence in Twitter and TikTok, and sharing all this stuff that I do, I share how I build them, what I find, and just generally share the knowledge as well.
Amazing. So just going into a bit of further detail about the company, what precisely do you do with clients and, with people that you're working with? Do you have clients? I assume you do.
Yeah, we have about 120 clients here, and my company is about 20 strong. We're growing pretty quickly. We might even be double that by next year. But basically what we do is we are a little different than other traditional software development companies. Most of them will come in, they'll say, hey, here's the requirements, here's what I need, build it, and then they'll leave. But we're a little different. We're very relationship driven. Usually we build something and we're there hand holding them through the entire process and even afterwards. Because a lot of times what we do, we're not just building a product, we're actually solving problems and building custom software for that particular customer or client. And we're just solving very unique problems. And these are complicated, expensive systems that really help them save a lot of time and money. And they'd be foolish not to keep us around. So we build a very relationship-driven kind of a business. And it's kind of a different way of doing it. And we've been doing a lot of education now to our existing clients that have a lot of stuff. I mean, the stuff we build are like ERP and CRM systems that work with distributors like beer, like Anheuser beer distributors. We work with those manufacturers, distributors. They're really lacking in some of their technology and software, just even in their traditional sense. And here comes blockchain. I'm trying to educate a lot of them. We're already starting to get some of them interested in this newer technology, which I think can help them be more efficient and better. So it's part education and also part building.
It's really interesting. Really interesting. Yeah. So you're educating your clients to use blockchain technology within
or potentially. I mean, they sometimes don't even know what it is or what the value it is and what does it mean to me? Is it going to save me money? Does it cost me more money? They don't even know. They just see what they see on the news, and there's a lot of misinformation.
Ethical hacking as well. So is this something that you do or your company does?
I do, yeah. So I didn't, when I was telling you, when I forgot to mention about that, as when I was doing a lot of R&D and prototyping, part of that was ethical hacking. And I don't know if everybody knows what that means or not. They might hear the word hacker and think it's a bad thing, it might have a negative connotation to it. But really, an ethical hacker is somebody who understands how to do those things in a bad way, but they will not use them in a bad way. I will help my clients to protect them from those bad things. Try to push the ball a little further out so they don't have to worry about being hit with ransomware or whatever kind of stuff that could come in. And that's always changing. So I just try to give them eyes and ears and help them protect them in a way they might not even know what to look for. So
that's interesting. I mean, I'm not a massive expert on hacking, I'm not going to lie. But I'm really intrigued and interested into finding out so much more about this. And one thing I would just suggest to the audience is that if you've got your questions now about ethical hacking, put them in the Q&A and we're going to ask them and ask me anything. But just from sort of very layman's perspective, ethical hacking, from what I understand, is you go in and you try and hack something and then show people where the flaws or vulnerabilities are within an app or a platform or something along those lines. Am I right in that?
Yeah, absolutely. It usually starts with like a penetration scan test. We're just going to kind of do a blanket scan, see what's open, and then once we find openings in a system, we look to see if there's vulnerabilities. As opposed to like a normal hacker would see those vulnerabilities and immediately press and take advantage of them. We just make notes of them. We let our client know, hey, you have an open door here. You need to close this. This needs some X, Y, and Z. We can either help you, as a software vendor, or if it's infrastructure, one of our partners, which is an IT company, can facilitate that. But it's just really just giving them a little bit of eyes and ears in an area that's a little gray, and most people don't really know what to look for. We're just trying to give them that, peace of mind, because it's devastating if something like that hits a business.
I see. I've got another question, and this is just coincidental. I was talking to somebody on the phone a minute ago whilst I was walking my dog in between the breaks. We're having a chat about blockchain. And does Web3 have more issues with hacking than Web2?
That's a great question. I believe Web3 inherently actually is a secure network. The problem with Web3 right now is we're kind of in this transition period where we're kind of going from Web2 to Web3. and there's a lot of gaps between Web 3 and Web 2, and most people are going to hack not the blockchain, but the things that communicate with the blockchain, the things on the fringes, the second layers of networks that where there could be some vulnerabilities or some stuff that's not really as secure. Because blockchain inherently is using the highest level of security we got from encryption to start with. That's why it's cryptocurrency. So I believe this is the next wave of being more secure, but there's still some Wild West areas, especially with things like smart contracts, which are still kind of up in the air.
Interesting. Yeah, it's interesting on your perspective of that. And I always, kind of, you do hear about these big hacks with, exchanges and lots of people's money going missing. So from my perspective, when I listen to the news that comes out about this, quite often I'm a bit concerned about being hacked or my money or crypto going, amiss and stuff like that. Centralized systems, I guess.
It is definitely a new area, and unfortunately, when some things new come out, people try to take advantage of that. But I think that's going to get less and less over time. I think as newer tools are coming in. I mean, even now, I think we were talking about some malicious things in the smart contract area. There's some new tools that are out there that help with those types of things, but it's still new. It's very new.
Okay, we'll go into that in a bit more detail a little later then. And I also understand that you're quite a big fan of open source.
I am.
Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Sure, yeah. I mean, as somebody who's been in the open source space for as long as my career has, I really enjoy what open source represents. Really what it is a way for the entire community to give tools in a very open way. It's not just about free software, which most people kind of gravitate towards first. It's really about having that open book for scrutiny. So if I have a piece of code that might have a problem in it, but I maybe don't see it, if I open that up in an open source world, I'm guaranteed that somebody in the community will probably see that and try to help me fix that, as opposed to traditional software where that is, it's a closed seal box and they don't want anybody seeing that. I find that that's not really the way to go, and I believe blockchain goes hand in hand with open source. It really is an open source technology to start with, at least Bitcoin and some of the other ones have been. And I really resonate with that. I feel like that's the way things should be, more so than more profit driven.
Okay, so going back to what we said before, how do you protect yourself from malicious smart contracts?
Well, that is a really good question. Recently, I had to help a friend of mine with the Ledger Academy, and she unfortunately was in an NFT project, and she approved a smart contract unknowingly in a marketplace, and that smart contract actually drained her account. It took about 10 to 12 NFTs that were at least worth 10,000 each, and then also drained all her Ether. And anytime she would put money into that contract, it would drain it immediately. So she had no way of even getting it. She was basically ransomed in their own wallet. And there was a couple things she could have done to protect herself on that. One is, first of all, using a hardware wallet. That approval process will have to have a human interaction to actually facilitate through, and it will protect herself. Unfortunately, she did not do that. Let's say if you are in that situation and you need to get unbind. So there's two websites, and we can provide these later. One is called Unwrecked, and it basically will allow you to go and unbind that smart contract that is causing you all that headaches and basically kind of taking over your account. But it's not easy, because as soon as you put money in it, you're going to have it drained. So it's like how we had it. We had to have two browsers open and literally click as fast as we can to get that to go through, and then we were able to do it. But those scanners that are out there, there's two of them that will allow you to see if you have those types of malicious contracts attached to your wallet.
I've just dropped some of the links that Stephen kindly shared before the chat in the chat. So you've got a few little tools there that you can use. Hopefully that will help everybody in the audience. We're going to move swiftly on to the questions. So now is your opportunity to ask Stephen anything about ethical hacking, and in general, any tech things you might want to know about. We have got absolutely tons of questions here.
Yeah, I see that.
I've got 16 more that I need to approve, and these are there. So I'm just going to start approving the ones quickly that I can see that are really good.
Sure, I saw a few in there too. If you want me to field them while you're doing that, you know.
Yeah, would you be able to just answer the first question? That would be a really great one if there's something that you want to answer there.
I just saw somebody in there say, "Is it a white as an ethical hacker or a white hat hacker?" Yes, I mean white hat hacker and ethical hackers are very similar. We're just there to try to help people as opposed to take advantage of people. So that's answering the one question I see in there for that 7 minutes ago.
This was quite good. Okay. So I've got a low question here. Sorry, can
you were breaking up there for a second.
Oh,
It's okay.
Um,
I don't know why it's giving problems here all of a sudden. I guess why we're having some technical difficulty. I'll go through some of the questions here, continue until he comes back. So another person asked, do you need to learn ethical hacking as a web developer? No, but there would be extremely good skills to have because you'll see things differently. You back, Luke? You back with us? Okay. I'll continue until he gets...
If anyone can see me or hear me.
Oh, I can hear you, Luke. Can you hear me?
Right in the chat if you can hear or see me still. Is it? I don't know. I'm not sure if... Okay. Yeah. I can't hear Stephen for some reason.
Oh, you cannot?
Okay, it's come back now. Stephen, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Sorry, it might be my
excellent.
connection. I might swap connection if it carries on like that.
That's okay. I can fill you in. While you were disconnected, I answered 2 questions. I was just going down the list. I answered the last one about web development and ethical hacking. I see somebody says ethical hacker needs an internet connection. On my side, I have gigabit, so I'm not sure what's going on here. If we can fix Luke's thing, that'd be great. But it looks like he's struggling again. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep going through some questions. Somebody asked, what is your preferred cold storage wallet? The one I would pick is the Trezor T. I've been using that for a few years. It's fantastic. I find it's the best of the breed. There's also the Ledger Nano S, but I don't like the way their hardware works with their software. But you know, everybody can, you know, it's up to them to choose that. But you know, they're good options as long as you have a hardware wallet. I think you're much better off than you have if you just had like MetaMask or one of these other software like Trust Wallet. So do we have any other questions here that maybe I can field that somebody might like to ask from the audience? It's not the Trezor T, it's a Trezor. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull it up and put it in the link here. So you guys give me a second here. That is the link. And I see a question there for somebody asking what is on my monitors. That's a really good question. So that is the Cardano blockchain where I'm currently working on a node there. And this is my mining operation. This is actually my mining in real time, showing you how my miners are performing. So that's what is on my monitors. So thanks for asking.
I'm back. I've changed my internet connection. So
did you? Okay, Luke. So I just been fielding questions here in the chat while you were gone. So if you're back, we can continue.
Amazing. Yeah, might have missed a few of the questions there. Apologies. There's my internet connection, nothing to the platform. I have 2 internet connections. Sometimes I have to switch between the 2. Yeah, let's go back to it. I'm not sure which ones have been answered, but there was one here that I thought was quite interesting. Does an ethical hacker even exist, or is it a twisted concept?
That's a really twisted question. I guess, you know, I've been doing this stuff for so long, even before when they coined it a term. All I'm trying to do is use my skills to help people. I'm also a philanthropist. I actually help and give back to people all the time. I feel that, you know, that's important to me. I believe that this blockchain space actually facilitates a fairness and trustless way that kind of resonates with me, and that's why I really like actually moving into it more so than anything else.
Fantastic. We've had this one because I heard you answering about the monitors. Have you answered the one about, do you think there should be regulations?
No, I have not.
Ethical things that developers build, and do you see such regulations as a hindrance for creativity if they were to put them in?
That's a two-part question, I think. The first part, I would say, no, I don't believe in regulation, because I believe that it will hinder creativity. Also, it's in doing the code, it's almost going to be impossible to enforce anything in a code base. I mean, because in hacker, it's this tax and they can change anything they want. So, good or bad. So I would think that would be so hard to regulate. And I think there would be no way to control that. And I just don't think it's a good idea. So I hope that's helpful for that question. Was it Golden?
Thank you. Thank you very much for the question, Golden.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, let's see what other questions we've got here. What code would you suggest if you're learning about Web 3.0?
Oh, okay. So there's a lot to learn here. First of all, you got to have some fundamentals if you're just going to develop smart contracts. I mean, you're not going to get too far if you don't have a background in development. Just because there's a lot of stuff here. I would highly recommend, let's say, learning JavaScript. JavaScript is probably one of the biggest and well-known resources that are out there. There's more developers developing on JavaScript than any other languages. And also, they really work well with the blockchain technologies. A lot of the Node.js, React, and Vue.js libraries have an ability already to connect with the blockchain, and there's tools being developed for it. And once you understand JavaScript, Solidity is actually based off of JavaScript, which is the language of smart contracts, at least for Ethereum and anyone that runs off an Ethereum virtual machine. You would understand the code much easier and logically than you would if you just kind of went in without kind of having a little bit of a background like JavaScript. Because they did bring that over on purpose in Solidity to give developers an easy on-ramp so they don't have to kind of relearn things. That was done on purpose. So JavaScript, I would say, would be the first thing I would learn.
Here's an interesting one. Do you just jumped out from my thing when I was going to put it on the stage? There we go. Just jumped again. Too many of these are coming through. Okay. Do you need to learn ethical hacking as a web developer?
No, I mean, I think I might have already answered this while you were going, but I can touch on it again. We can touch on it again if you want. Unless you have another question.
We can jump. Yeah, let's touch on it again.
I just want to touch, since you did have it up. So ethical hacking really is a mindset different than, a developer usually is, in my world, a developer is usually good at being told how to do something. Somebody's going to come up with a spec. It's like, hey, here's a technical spec. I need you to build this. Do exactly what I tell you. An ethical hacker's not going to play by any playbook. They're going to try to work on our own rules. They're going to try to find, vulnerabilities, ways to get into systems and do things in a different way that's unintended. Sometimes you can do that. You find, kind of holes in systems, and an ethical hacker will try to do that. But if you have that mindset while you're building applications, you can probably prevent those security issues from coming up and build a more secure application.
I'm not sure if you had this one yet, but is there any books or favorite books that you can suggest to read about how to ethically hack?
Books, not so much. Really online. I mean, I just read a lot of message boards. I'm in Telegram a lot, Discord. When I talk to any of these, I learn a lot actually just by jumping right into, any of these projects that are out there. If you find a project you think is interesting, I would recommend getting personal. Go into their Telegram, talk to the people who are doing it. Say, if it's a community-driven project, can I help? Can I be part of this? That kind of stuff will help you get into that area. And there's even a lot of, even Telegram channel for ethical hacking, and there's stuff on the dark web. But I got to say, you got to be careful unless you know what you're doing there. You might want to get some background because you will possibly get taken advantage of. But anybody's interested, off the top of my head, I don't know. Just reach out to me. We will provide my contact information, and I can look offline and provide some links if that's helpful. I don't know off the top of my head.
That would be great if you could do that. And another one here, which is I find really interesting, which I put on the stage. Do you think Web3 and blockchain could be applied to more manual businesses like catering and other, typical maybe manual work?
Absolutely. I believe this industry is going to proliferate to every place. So we're like somebody that's running a catering business, right? So where I see this coming in with blockchain is for supply chain issues. So what happens if I had a recall on some chicken? And that recall usually will take a few days to go through the whole supply chain. But on blockchain, within less than 3 minutes, I could probably have that recall know if it's, if I'm serving something that's going to make people sick. Where you would have to wait days and you potentially could have damaged or hurt some people. So that's where I think it could really speed up efficiencies in supply chain. And also anything that goes wrong with those, they can be, accounted for much quicker.
We started a few minutes late, so I'm going to continue this on for another 3 or 4 minutes, getting some last questions in. Is there any on here, Stephen, that you haven't answered yet that you particularly like to answer, because there's a lot of questions here, absolutely hundreds. Thanks so much to all the audience for being
thank you. Absolutely. I see somebody in here mentioning Walmart. Yeah, absolutely. So Walmart is really picking up the speed in blockchain. They've been in the space for about 3 to 4 years now. And within the next year or two, if you're not actually on their blockchain, you might not be doing business with Walmart.
Wow.
That's kind of like where I see this is going. And don't be fooled. Everybody from McDonald's and Burger King's getting in this. I've been around since the .com bubble, so I've seen a similar thing play out as what's happening now. But this is the world stage happening, not just like the U.S. or the UK or Germany. These are the entire world really going towards a single objective, and it's growing extremely fast. And I kind of like that. So I think there's a lot of growth and a lot of cool things that are going to come out of this space.
I can also back this up. So recently, we have TechCircus has many conferences in many areas. Traditionally, we did product and Web 2 and UX and all of that kind of stuff. And I was speaking to the director of Adidas recently, the digital global director, and he didn't realize that we'd been doing a lot of stuff in the space over the last year. And I said to him, what you've been up to? And he just didn't stop talking about Web3 and metaverse and then their whole project is transforming into this. It's seeping out of every single area, and having spoken to those people for several years, it's the first time I've heard them talking about this in the last sort of 12 months. And
it's really changed a lot, hasn't it?
Yeah, really senior people and really senior big companies, it is definitely happening. Do you want to jump on to the next question, Stephen, if you've found another one?
Yeah, I know we only have a short amount of time here too. I mean, let me see. I'll answer one more question. Before I do that, we're currently working on a Cardano-based blockchain project. It's really philanthropic too. It's called Cardolphins. We're actually just launched the website today, and the NFTs will be minting on the 12th. So what I'll do is I'll post that in there. What's interesting about this project is we're working with the Dolphin Foundation and helping wildlife and sea creatures with every transaction that's going to go on there. So it's really a good thing. That's kind of resonates with me. So there's going to be, I think, 8,888 of these NFTs. They're going to be bound to a smart contract that's going to facilitate the donation stuff that I was mentioning. And it's probably pretty neat because we're building stuff for the Cardano network, or at least the Cardano vending machine stuff that really doesn't exist. They exist in Ethereum and other things, but there's really not much enough Cardano area. So we got our work cut out. So it's challenging, but I think when we're done, we're going to open source some of this stuff. I think we're going to open source the vending machine, and we're going to open source the Hashlips library with the Cardano ability. So there are two projects we're kind of enhancing and putting out there, and we will be open sourcing.
chuck the link into the chat so everyone get involved?
Yeah, absolutely. So I did. I put it in there. It's called Cardolphins. So you guys can check it out. We'd love to have some feedback on it. It's pretty cool. It's a really neat project, and it's going to do good as well.
One last question to finish off, which I don't think anyone will be able to see at the moment because it's on the approval one. Is ethical hacking connected to your emotional intelligence, or is it some kind of political interest?
I would say it's connected to my emotional intelligence, because most people that are hackers, you're usually really strong with regular intelligence, but really weak in emotional intelligence. I've really learned how to build my emotional intelligence, and I can give you an example of that. I was part of a Zoom bomb recently, and there was about 50 people, and we had a bunch of hackers come in, and everybody was freaking out. So what I did is I started attacking the hackers emotionally, and getting them off of their rocker and forcing them to make mistakes while my friends were trying to get them locked out. So a lot of times you can get their attention pretty easily because they're usually a little immature in emotional area. I find that if you really get stronger in that area and you're really strong in the technical, you can take advantage. I don't want to say you take advantage of, but you can make things play in the way you want them to be for good, as opposed to being taken advantage of. Because some of those people are really smart, but they're missing some other areas that you can, I don't know. It's just something I probably went on a tangent too much on, but I've seen a lot.
Thank you so much for all your input. Thank you so much to the audience for all your questions. Absolutely interactive session. Absolutely amazing. This is why we love doing these events. Thank you so much, Stephen, for everything there. It's been a really interesting chat. Certainly learned a lot myself. And for everybody else, please move on to the next sessions. Hope you enjoyed the rest of the conference.
Thank you. It was a pleasure. Have a wonderful day, everybody.